Hello fellow crafters, my name is George and this is the Spare Time G, and today we're gonna make a British main battle tank Challenger 2 with the upgraded armor package. To be honest, I have been waiting for this moment for a long time when I had an opportunity to sculpt another main battle tank, which is my favorite, one of my favorites, Challenger 2. Actually, to be honest, the very first video of mine on this channel was the Abrams main battle tank, and now after more than 90 videos I'm again sculpting another MBT, this time the British one. So starting with the base, I have decided to have the similar scale as I had with the Bulldog and use the similar cap of an ice cream container. This is a quite nice shape for the base of similar projects, and at the same time it kind of gives you an ability to work on the surface by applying the clay onto the ground. You'll have to attach a lot of clay in order to make the base sturdier and heavier, and at the same time you can kind of work with it, create the different surfaces. Unfortunately, the scale is pretty large in comparison to this base, so the tank is going to be covering pretty much 100% of it, so it really do not gives you ability to have other kind of surface textures and details. Like if you decide to have a jungle, you won't be able to add some trees on it because it won't fit simply. This is the color and at the same time the shape of the tracks I have decided to have on the tank. It is you will be quite familiar with them because it is quite similar for many battle tanks to have this kind of shapes on the tracks. So the base is quite similar to the Bulldog tank. You again have to create this simple rectangular shape, prolong the rectangular shape, and cut it out with nice corners, plain sides, and then of course apply this copper or other metal wires onto it in this fashion, or at least try to have 4 connecting points onto the ground, onto the surface. This will give you an ability to hold the tank's weight, as unfortunately this technique of sculpting really do not allows you to rely on the wheels that much, because wheels are only the decorations in this particular technique of sculpting them. So this is the technique I have used for the wheels. It is quite complicated, and to be honest, right now looking at it, it's not really very necessary to have this amount of detailing on them, because once you're done with the model, the side skirts in this particular setup, they are really going to cover every single one of them, and only in certain corners and views the base of the wheels are going to be showing, and none of those detailing are visible. So it was quite a big disappointment for me, and maybe later on I will cheat on the wheels and simply make kind of circles of certain color and attach them to the tank, and it will kind of conserve a lot of time, because making 6 or 7 on one side is quite time consuming, even if you consider that you have also to create tracks and the whole tank with a turret. So this is the attached version of our tank with all the wheels, the stroking wheels on the front and back portions, and at the same time I have attached the tracks as well. To be sure, it is quite difficult to foresee how long of a track you need to create initially, so be more safer. It is quite easier to cut the extra part off. In this case, as the tank is not moving at all, we don't really need to worry about the space in between the hull, wheels and the side skirts. Because of that, I have used quite a rough technique of adding these side filler thingies onto the sides in order to have some kind of material on which the side armor is going to be attached. And once you're done with the rough process, you can then of course use the colored clay you have in mind and cover the surface. Once you're done with the sides, you can then quite simply start working on the hull itself. In this case, I only start making the surface of the hull. It is quite complicated shape to create. It is quite counterintuitive, kind of makes the overall top part to be more roundish in one glance, and I have used several angular angular pictures for reference from the Google in order to nail, so to say, this surface. It is quite complicated, so be sure to use the actual images instead of just going with your simple imagination and the memory of the tank surface. Once you're done with the overall top portion, then of course you can start working on the side explosive armor plates. It is not that complicated, to be honest, but still in this kind of tank or any kind of vehicle / technology robot thing is, you will have to master the patience to have angular shapes as smooth and sides as plain as possible, because it really gives the overall shape more realistic look. And clay, to be honest, it's much easier to make round shapes out of it than angulars, of course, so it is even adding even more time onto the sculpture. So this is the finished look, more or less, on the frontal and side armor plates. And later on, of course, you will have to attach the cage at the back and at the same time these details onto the tank itself with these containers of additional fuel, which will make the tank longer and more menacing looking, so to say. But right now let's start working on the turret. To be honest, the turret is more or less the most simplistic from all of the main battle tanks in the world, but yet the frontal and the top portion is more or less cumbersome to create, and at the same time the scale in comparison to the hull is quite difficult to nail. Again, be sure to check all the images, reference photos, and maybe use some kind of measurement tools in order to have a nice thickness on the turret, not very wide and yet not very bulky. Keep in mind that later on you will still be adding the layer of colored clay, for our case the yellow one, and then after that you will also be adding additional armor pieces which will make the overall turret look wider. So if you kind of mess up with the turret size, it can really damage the look and the realistic feel of the tank. So this is our gun. It was quite difficult to create this one because the Challenger 2 has kind of nice textures on the gun, but the nice textures mean much more work for me. I'm quite happy for it, of course. This is the rifled gun. I wanted to mention again. Right now they are working on the replacement for it with a smooth bore one, as it is much modern and is able to shoot much different rounds than the rifled one. So after hours and hours of sculpting, carving, attaching and molding and so on, our Challenger 2 is finally done. To be honest, this is the finest and most accurate and detailed tank sculptures I have made yet, and it looks quite nice in my opinion. The desert look and these additional pieces and armor packs really look quite neat on it. And down into the comment section, I would really enjoy you to comment suggestions and ideas of the next, maybe German or Russian or French MBTs or other military kind of equipment. As you can see, I'm quite a big fan of military technology and tanks and planes and so on, and I really will enjoy making next project about them. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this project as much as I enjoyed the process of making it. It is quite fun for me and the result looks pretty amazing in my opinion, and I'm quite happy to place it next to my Abrams M1A2 model. Have a nice day and see you next time. Goodbye.